As we were talking about yesterday, actually, that pattern of life thing, you know, anyone who's really serious about attacking in any way at all will hopefully have studied the area, because that's going to be what's most effective. But I think what's important here is looking at previous incidents around stadiums. So if you look at the Stade de France attack in December 2015, or if you look at the latest one near Turkey, I think Beşiktaş was the club. Those didn't actually happen during the game. They didn't happen inside the stadium. They happened, Stade de France was in bars around it, where there's a surge of volume of people who are kind of letting their hair down. You know, the game's gone. They're relaxing and having some alcohol. That's when they were hit with two suicide attacks. And then in Turkey, it was 2 hours after the game where they were hit by a suicide car bomb. And that's kind of where the vulnerable points were. So I think that is going to be the important bit. Obviously inside, but that's where all the security is going to be. I think, you know, these people will target the vulnerable points, which will be people letting their hair down outside afterwards.
Oh, frightening stuff. So what is the real threat, do you think? What is it as real as we fear? Because some of the front pages are making it seem like, you know, it's going to be a frightening thing to go to a football match this weekend. Yeah,
well, I think Trump's executive order kind of honed in as to sort of, you know, analysis on what the actual threat was. And when you look at evidence in the States, when you look at the Paris attacks, most of the evidence suggests that it's homegrown citizens. It's people with French passports, Brussels passports, American passports, or legal residents. It doesn't necessarily come from immigrants or refugees. So then the question is, why is that? And I think the big thing that the Islamic State have done, or people that want to perpetrate these attacks, is they've weaponized propaganda. They've taken social media and they've done it in a very clever way. They've infected people with it, which has become contagious. And I think that's what the West is really struggling with, is that globalization piece. Terrorism has been around for hundreds and hundreds of years, but terrorism underpinned by globalization hasn't. So I think that's the threat. That's what they've got to be looking at. They've got to be concentrating all their information, all their intelligence on sleeper cells and people that actually have been in the country for a while. What are the communications? Are they talking to the Islamic State in Syria and Iraq? Or are they just, you know, like the Nice attacker who plowed people down? Is there just sort of, it's a very complex beast, you know, and you've got to take a holistic approach.
I'll tell you what I think is complex. You get a full league fixture, whether it's a Premier League, Championship, whatever. You get police resources, obviously after what happened with Dortmund. It's going to be concentrated where stadiums are, matches are taking place, whatever. And it stretches the police pretty thin, does it not?
It does. When you look at what's going on foreign policy-wise, over $13 billion has been spent on airstrikes alone by the Americans in Iraq and Syria. That's a significant amount of cash. I've always argued for, and I still will argue for, that there needs to be the requisite amount of manpower and resource that goes into domestic security, that goes into bolstering the numbers of manpower required for police, required for intelligence. Intelligence is absolutely key at the moment. And that's the thing that will be informing the way that security services back home are going about their business. There needs to be much more. It's not necessarily pulling in intelligence, it's the assimilation of it. That's the bottleneck when it comes to this type of thing.
The turnstile queues will be longer. There'll be a lot of staff at stadium with those wands, vetting people going in and out as well.
And should those players have played yesterday? Because you've obviously been involved in been present with explosions. You've been present, haven't you, when bombs have gone off? Something that fortunately most of us haven't. And does it do something to you that they shouldn't have been playing?
It puts you in a state of shock. You immediately think, how did I escape that? Could the glass have hit you? There's a smell that you don't smell anywhere else, and it's your ears, Mikey, as well, isn't it?
I mean, I was speaking to an interrogator on this, and terrorism's all about the fear factor, isn't it? It's all about the unknown. So I was talking to an interrogator about this, and it comes back sort of to the torture thing. He said to me, "What is the most scariest part of Jaws, the movie?" And it's the bit before you see the shark. It's not when you see the shark. So when the bang's gone off, your body has a unique way of reacting to it in terms of the adrenaline, in terms of what kicks in. But the bit that makes people fearful, and the bit that sort of generates this hate and the Islamophobia and everything else, is the fear of the unknown. And I think that's the bit psychologically that we have to get over, is just trying to carry on. But the most important thing out of all of this, going back to manpower and resource, is all of us, when we're going about our daily business, is just keeping your eyes and ears open, just a little bit. And if you see something you're not quite sure of, tell someone. And don't feel silly about doing that. Because, you know, there's, what, 66 million people in the UK? That's the best asset. Hezbollah, who are the resistance force, if you like, inside South Lebanon, their intelligence network is all about their own people inside South Lebanon. If anyone sees something that isn't quite right, I went into South Lebanon, and as you're traveling through villages, if they see someone of my, you know, sort of look, they'll pick up the phone and they'll tell the right people, and before you know it, people will be on you. So that's the human network of what we all do as we go about our daily business is incredibly important.
So sad we have to. We're going to watch a football match, though, isn't it? But thank you very much indeed.
Good to see you.